Agile, I have sinned. It has been 630 days since my last retrospective. What penance am I going to do? What's going to happen here? Let's find out. Today we're going to do a retrospective on the work that I've done since May 2023. Welcome to this Stateless Code retrospective. Usually these are more focused on one series in particular with kind of some, if I do some side stuff here and there, I'll add it in. But this has really been all over the place. So this has been a potpourri of various efforts and work. We'll review what we've produced, and then we will look into what went well, what couldn't go well. We also had 2023 end and 2024 end, so I'll do a couple of year-end retrospectives. If you want to skip to the various portions of this retrospective, you can do so. I'll have the chapters in the description. We'll take a look at the artwork that's been sitting over my left shoulder for a year and a half, Luther, and then we'll do a little bit of singing. Be warned, you can, those chapters, remember them. You can skip the singing. But anyway, we will start taking a look at what we've done. So the first thing, I've got NerdDice.com, which is the primary Ruby on Rails application that we've been working on for since probably fall of 2022. As you can see, there hasn't been really any activity on it since September of 2023, other than on the wiki kind of toward the end of this set of videos that are covered by this retro. We have the first thing that we did, if we look at, I'm going bottom up on these videos. So populated a project backlog with the preliminary features for the application. We did a couple of basic upgrade type videos where we upgraded the Rails version, which is now still on 7.0.7.2, but needs to get to 8.0, something for after retro. We removed the WebDrivers gem, had some Salesforce stuff, and got into some setup videos, which we'll see have typically some pretty good viewership, and we'll talk about that. We did our annual maintenance on the NerdDice RubyGem, which I'll have to do this week. So you'll probably the first video after this retro, you will see the 2025 NerdDice RubyGem maintenance, and then another setup video on Sublime Text. The project backlog for nerddice.com, you can see, is right here. This is what we set up in that first video. It hasn't been touched all that much since then, or we already had the backlog in place, but we added a bunch of feature type stuff to it. The one thing that we did complete was creating an entity diagram, and we'll get to that in the later videos. But now we'll move on to kind of starting with May of 2024. So yeah, we went a pretty big gap between videos and continued on with some setup and configuration videos. You can see here this install Balena etcher on Ubuntu 22.04. This was kind of just what I thought was a throwaway setup video where I wanted to do Ubuntu 24.04 had come out, and I wanted to go through installing that operating system and then doing some refreshes of some of the other configuration things that I had done since then. But this little, what I thought was a throwaway video, has become my most ever viewed YouTube video. I have mixed emotions about that, but the idea is even for the other setup videos is you bring the viewers in and then hopefully get them to cross over into the coding and software engineering content and help people level up and become good programmers. Sometimes people are just looking for setup and configuration and don't really care about coding or already know how to code, and they'll maybe find me whenever they want a setup video. But the overall vision of this endeavor is to help people learn how to program and become good software developers, and maybe let that person in the wild who doesn't have a computer science degree, self-taught, autodidact, kind of like myself, and let that provide the tools to let that person blossom into a software engineer. Kind of that I've got a whole series of kind of why stateless code, inspired by Simon Sinek's Start With Why video. I'll put a link to that playlist in the description of this video. But these setup videos, which you can see, have, relative to my other videos, I'm not Mr. Beast or anything, pretty good viewership, pretty good likes. I continued through most of 2024. There wasn't a lot of actual coding going on this channel in 2024. And then we will continue on here toward the end of 2024 and into 2025. We had finished up doing a little bit of dev container stuff, and then had a attempted contribution to Ruby on Rails where the code part got rejected, the documentation part got accepted. You can go through that to see how I went about trying to contribute to Ruby on Rails in 2025. And then we had the 3 videos related to the entity diagram of the NerdDice.com project. So kind of going through, in this case, using Draw.io or app.diagrams.net, and kind of thinking about how my data is going to relate to each other. Think about the data modeling, the objects, the data attributes in Dungeons and Dragons, and then how they relate and would wind up being a set of tables in a database, and then more importantly in our NerdDice application. Then we finished up by getting that onto the NerdDice.com wiki, and here we are at the retro. Take a brief look at 2023 and 2024. Obviously, my total number of videos published has continued to crater compared to 2021. So you can see 122, and then down to 66, and then down to 51. The statelesscode.com has also not really been upkept all that much, but views, watch hours, subscribers have all more or less been on a positive trend in 2023. In 2023, I published my 250th video. We hit 30,000 views, 300 subscribers, and had a first video to exceed 5,000 total views. You look at 2024, we had even way fewer videos published, so down from 51 to just 12. The 12 videos, though, had a really high average viewership. Subscribers hit 350 in 2024, and as we will see on the next screen, are currently standing over 400 today. So that's a big gain in total reach and viewership. Got over 700 total likes on videos on this channel, so thank you for all of you who have hit that thumbs up button. It does help the channel and the project build momentum. It gets more eyeballs on the content, and so thank you all for how you've contributed to that. This brings us now to current state. So this is a screenshot of my channel analytics from earlier today. We've got 406 subscribers. This is lifetime. I don't know why it's 404. I feel almost like that Mitch Hedberg joke. Dufresne, party of two. Dufresne, party of two. How can anybody eat at a time like this? So we've got 2 missing subscribers. I don't know what's going on there, but somewhere between 404 and 406 is what we've got currently for subscribers. We've, even since the end of 2024, we've got over 10,000 more views on the channel, and hopefully we'll continue to build off of that viewership momentum by getting back on and getting some content for video production momentum. That will now bring us to our typical retro flow, where we look at our action items that have existed since the previous retro. We kind of see whether there's been any progress on any of those, and at the end of this video, assuming we have any action items, spoiler alert, we do, they'll be brought back into here and evaluated how well we did on them in the next retro. So out of all of these, I would say the only one that went from open to done is considering doing more setup and configuration videos. So as you can see, that was the majority of what was published since the last retro, and those did well. They have high likes, have high views, so we can move this one to done. As opportunities come up to publish more of them, I will just kind of add them in ad hoc as needed. And I think that I haven't figured out how to move this to the other column. We'll move on to the actual retro board for this content. And if I figure out how I unbroke this board, I will add it back in as a clip at the end of the video, or I'll just completely remake this board and delete the old one. Hopefully that's not what we wind up doing. But now, without any further ado, we've got our epic Baldur's Gate 3 themed retro board. Reason for this, as you can see in the what went poorly, this is what went poorly from a Stateless Code standpoint, not necessarily from a mic standpoint. So I spent a lot of time playing through Baldur's Gate 3. I'm kind of not sorry. It's a really good game. So we will go through, and a lot of these things we've already touched on. The high viewership of each video, hitting 300 and then 400 subscribers. Had a very small typo contribution to Ruby on Rails accepted, but it still counts as a contribution. And then I hit 60,000 lifetime views. And then, as I hinted at, my 2 most watched videos of all time were videos that were primarily for the purpose of setting up for other videos. So that idea, well, maybe this isn't the content that I care about. It's worth it to just record the video on it anyway, even if I don't really know what I'm doing, as I did with the Android emulator video, which is my second most viewed video of all time. We sometimes those things just pop. I don't know why, but we have, as I've already hit on Baldur's Gate 3, my buddy Volo over in the left column, really procrastinated on the NerdDice.com entity diagram. So this is a big one. I started working on that entity diagram in October of 2023, and I didn't finish it until February of 2025. So the value of entity diagramming is important when you're kind of planning a project, but if you feel like it's so much of a chore that you kind of would rather go play Baldur's Gate 3 than make your entity diagram, then maybe you just start coding and realize if you're using a framework like Ruby on Rails, you can make the changes later. So it's something to think about in terms of what keeps you from kind of content creation, writing block, art block, coding block, stuff like that, that is going to slow you down. It's the same thing happened to me in 2023 with trying to set up user experience studying videos. You don't want to kind of let your whole momentum get lost because of something that you don't especially want to do, especially if that thing isn't absolutely essential to the execution of your goal. Sound setup wasn't great. This is something that is hopefully better in this. I've kind of already completed the action item to upgrade my sound. So almost all of my previous videos, I'll bring it over here into the picture. I've been using it won't go into the picture, essentially a podcast microphone, which is very directional. And my issue is I'm often working on this monitor, so voice is going this way, microphone is over here, and it made for poor and inconsistent audio quality. So now I've got a lavalier mic that I use that is far less directional, and I can kind of face any way while I'm talking, and it's not going to be a big deal. So that's, and there were that a couple of these things were prompted by YouTube comments. So like the comment was, "Your sound is horrible, man. Next time." So I should respond to that and be like, "Hey, this prompted me to take action and improve my sound setup. So thanks for the feedback." There's also a situation where I can work on editing videos down where, let's say, I get stuck and look at documentation and stuff like that. I don't need to have that occur in real time. I can tighten up the dead air without sacrificing the idea of leave your mistakes in the video so that it can help other people learn. Other people can learn without the dead air. So that was another one that came from a comment on my setting up GitHub for verified commits video. So if you do provide constructive feedback, I am likely to take it into account and at least evaluate whether it's something that makes sense. I'm also, I don't think I've done it yet in this video, I want to get rid of the habit of saying I'm going to pause and do X. The video you as the viewer get the idea. I don't need to you've seen YouTube videos before, you know that you can kind of transition from one clip to another, and I don't need to announce that I'm going to pause the video. I also, let's see here, return of the ums and ahs. Do I not have? Oh, there it is, staring me right in the face. Still too many ums and ahs that I'm trying to get a little bit better at. In this video, a couple have snuck in already that I'm aware of. And then finally, I had bad contrast on the entity diagram videos as I was doing the entity diagram. We can go back to here, and so as I was doing this entity diagram, it was kind of clear on clear or white on white on clear in terms of the background there. So when we did the export the diagram for the NerdDice wiki, went in and added a background color to those tables so that you can kind of things stand out and it's more readable and you can visually see where the shapes of the tables are better. So that gets us through what didn't go well or went poorly. I don't, and I've talked about this before, but I don't like what went well and then what can we improve on, because it's kind of a euphemism. You want to actually have what went well and what didn't, because things that went well can also wind up in your action items. You can take something that you're good at and do it better. You can take something that went poorly and not act on it, just because you get more bang for your buck sometimes for going after and making things that you're already good at better than trying to improve weaknesses. If you ever get encountered with the Gallup's Strength Center in the Clifton Strengths Finder, it kind of operates on that idea. Don't try to become mediocre at everything. Take the things that you're naturally an outlier at and build on them instead of just trying to be well-rounded. So, action items. Get back on track. This is not enough content and videos being published here. It's time to put Baldur's Gate down for a while and do some content creation. Upgrade recording sound, already done here. Tighten up editing. Hopefully we'll see some of that. We saw some of that toward the end of the later videos that are associated with this retrospective. So the entity diagram, especially the second one, I went through and tried to cut off some of the dead air in pauses and stuff like that in that video. That's going to be one of the main things I focus on from an editing and production standpoint in the videos that are coming up. Here's one. So we might want to modify the video intro to make it shorter in order to reduce attrition. So save the singing for the initiated. All these videos so far have had this hack the stateless code at the beginning, and there are some viewers who, rightfully so, are going to be like my youngest daughter was a couple years ago and say, please stop singing. Or as soon as you hit that intro, nope, not for me. I will go and get my content somewhere else. So I'll keep, there might be a glutton for punishment there who likes that singing intro. We will throw that now at the end of the video, kind of where the end screen is, where you can like and subscribe and that sort of thing. That way it's still there if you are, as an Easter egg for those gluttons for punishment, to watching to the very end of the video instead of a uh, scare away half my audience. I don't want to Thanos my audience in my introduction. Our last one is figure out what to do next. So I kind of talked a little bit about this in the end of the second entity diagram video. This representing Dungeons and Dragons as a data model is a pretty big undertaking, and there's still a lot up in the air with 5th edition 2024 versus 2014, and also just that's has the potential of being a very large amount of effort going into developing that application. I was perhaps a little bit more apt to put it on the back burner, but I got a comment on one of those entity diagram videos saying, hey, this looks really interesting. I'm looking forward to the series. So I don't want to kind of let that subsection of my audience down. So I probably will continue to chip away at NerdDice.com, but I think I'm going to prioritize a few other things ahead of it, and kind of hit NerdDice.com here and there until I get through those. So part of it is that I've got my 13-year-old son wants to learn how to code, and a lot of the videos, and I think I've mentioned this in a past retro, a lot of the videos I have assume a certain level of programming knowledge in order to follow along with them. I'm kind of providing that end to end through a project, every little detail you need to do to get there, but I'm not always, it's not accessible to people who don't know how to code at all. So I want to kind of think through that, like how do I teach somebody who knows how to use a computer but hasn't done any coding? How do I teach that person how to code in order to bridge that gap from 0 to now you can find value out of the rest of the videos that I've already produced. So I think that's going to be priority 1. Priority 2, which I think I might wind up doing a bit sooner, that the kind of whole introduction to coding is going to be a long project. So I'm probably going to be doing some of that and then working on either nerddice.com or other coding videos that are more along the lines of the same thing that I've been producing, kind of maybe half of my time on each type of thing. But Ruby on Rails 8 came out in Q4 of 2024. Back when Rails 7 came out, I went through and I really started recording videos pretty much on the day it came out to go through the getting started guide with Ruby on Rails 7. They've changed that guide up enough that I think I want to re-go through it in using Ruby on Rails 8, and then we'll go back to NerdDice, upgrade NerdDice from 7 to 8, or NerdDice.com from 7 to 8, and then we'll kind of continue on maybe some NerdDice, maybe some as you can see over my shoulder, the JMorp art. We might wind up making a site to support that business, and that's obviously more urgent because my daughter wants to sell more art. So and then kind of as we're kind of working through the introduction to coding and all those things, I am also susceptible to maybe continue making more setup videos. I might take a look at using Jest to test Lightning Web Components in Salesforce. So there are a lot of possibilities and opportunities on the horizon, and it's going to be challenging to try to prioritize them against each other. So I'm not making any promises, but that's kind of where I'm thinking, and maybe it will make more sense to really hone in on and get kind of do a whole retro's worth of effort on one particular topic and then kind of switch off and go do something else a little bit. Or maybe it's kind of, what do I feel like producing today, and we'll just kind of have an eclectic set of videos that kind of make progress in a bunch of different directions at once. So if you have a really strong opinion about what you want to see Stateless Code produce, then as I've noted, add stuff to the comments. You might the series that you save might just be your favorite. So I think that ends our retro. Let's meet Luther. Hi everybody, this is Luther. Luther is JMorp Art, participated in a Instagram contest called Top OC in 2023, and Luther was her entry in that. He is a D&D character for a campaign that we haven't really delved into much. There we go. Maybe that's better. You just kind of have me hiding behind Luther, or maybe like Wilson from Home Improvement. Anyway, that silliness. Anyway, so he's kind of almost like a reverse Jekyll and Hyde type of thing. Like he was a bratty rich kid, got into drugs, and this is a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, so magical drugs can mess you up. Anyway, so he kind of got into that and got transformed into this kind of Mothman type of anthropomorphic moth monster type of humanoid, and kind of was reaction similar to where other things that are different often receive. So kind of having rocks thrown at you, being driven out of towns, and all that stuff. He's really not popular in clothing and tailor stores. They'll see him coming and call for the town guard. They don't want him eating all their clothes. But this event to him kind of really had a almost transformational and redemptive impact on him as a character. So he went from being this kind of entitled, snotty, rich kid to kind of becoming way more mellow and caring and soft-spoken. And he's almost like that, I forget the rock guy in Thor 3 Ragnarok, where he's just kind of a chill, low-key type of guy. And that's what Luther is. So we'll swap out the art over my left shoulder for something else from JMorp Art, and who knows, in a future videos you might see the design of her e-commerce solution. You can follow her at j.morp_art, MORP. On Instagram. I'll also add her link tree to the description of this video, and you can hopefully soon get her her art online. She also does various cons and stuff like that across mostly the east coast of the United States, but she does have fans from all over the globe, and so if you really want to buy this or any of her other art, hit me up in the comments and we can connect you, or however. So we look forward to seeing some brand new art over my shoulder in the next video. So the world went 630 days without a Stateless Code retrospective, which meant 630 days without Mediocre Karaoke. A lot has happened in those intervening 630 days. Maybe you're happy with it, maybe you're upset with it, who knows. But I am sad to inform you that the department of Mediocre Karaoke is getting back into full swing. So we're going to, in this song, we're going to do Space Oddity by David Bowie. This is from the 1969 album called David Bowie, and not to be confused with the 1967 album, which is also called David Bowie. Usually those artists will do like David Bowie 2 or something, but nope. First two albums, exact same title. So make of that what you will. I'm going to try to sing harmony with myself here. So I'll lay down the main vocal track and the harmony track and kind of try to edit them together. And we'll see how it goes. It's been almost 2 years. I can assure you I haven't gotten any better in that intervening time. So it is what it is.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. 10. Ground control 9, to Major Tom. 8, 7, 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 3, 2. Check ignition and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made great, and the papers want to know who shirt you wear. Now it's time to leave the capsule if you dare. This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door, and I'm floating in a most peculiar way, and the stars look very different today. For here am I sitting in a tin can, far above the world. Planet Earth is blue, and there's nothing I can do. I'm feeling very still, and I think my spaceship knows which way to go. Tell my wife I love her very much, she knows. Ground control to Major Tom, your circuit's dead. There's something wrong, can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear? Am I floating on my tin can? Far above the moon. Planet Earth is blue, and there's nothing I can do.
I'm just gonna say what we're all thinking. Major Tom was the lucky one. Circuit dead. No chance of having that performance broadcasted out to him, kind of floating around his corpse in that space capsule, not getting decomposed because there's nothing else probably alive in it, so just kind of sitting there dead. But unlike you, he didn't have to endure that song. So there's that. I bet you never felt as much empathy for Major Tom, or maybe envy for Major Tom, as you do right now. Thanks for watching this Stateless Code video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and spread the word. Check out our growing library of videos on our social media channels. Follow us at Stateless Code, and Taxation is Theft.